Hey guys, if you love QF's content on our free Sundays and Thursday sessions, then please visit our Patreon page in the description and sub to the Black Kluge tier or higher for full access to not only our bonus weekly Tuesday night shows and the alternate Sunday shows you've been missing, but also to the exclusive episodes not available to the lower tiers. It's roughly the price of one coffee a month, and nobody at Starbucks will make you laugh like we do for that kind of scratch. In addition, when you sub to the Black Kluge tier, you'll get 2 weeks advance access to each Thursday session on Patreon before it makes it to YouTube.
But I do follow a Hunter Schafer, so maybe that's why the algorithm
Well,
brought him
that
into
was how
Ladyboy.
it started. Yeah, that's how it started. And they said, well, let's see where we can take this with him. So they start
This guy
pushing
likes
the edges
Ladyboy.
of the envelope.
Yeah, they're pushing me into a lifestyle. I don't know.
Yeah, you're being groomed, Howard.
I'm being groomed. I like Ladyboy. Don't worry. Oh yeah. And the guy's like, well, how would we have a baby? Oh, don't worry. We make baby in my butt. It's okay.
Do you watch Euphoria on Sunday nights?
No.
On HBO? I love that show. I don't know why. I just do. It's a bunch of kids fucking up and doing drugs and shit. And
Yeah, I'm not into that.
I'm a big Zendaya fan, and I'm a big Hunter Schafer fan.
Okay.
Every
But
time I
don't
see
like
Hunter
to see
Schafer,
people running around being miserable.
I like that. I relate to it. And I like watching kids. I like Zendaya. And I like Hunter Schafer.
But, she's miserable.
Hunter Schafer used to be, was born a boy, and now he's a woman. And I like him. What can I tell you? I like her. She's very intriguing to me. I mean, I'm like, every time I watch her, I say to my wife, I can't believe she used to be a he. Just, I watched the show mostly just to look at her. So, I like it. I wish they
odd. That's odd,
I love
you're
that.
not letting
I
her
love
be
it.
her. You keep reminding yourself she used to be a he.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm odd. I didn't say I wasn't odd. What do you want from me?
Okay.
I'm odd.
I just want to point it out.
I go, she's got a damn good body. You know what I'm saying?
You know who is, when you said who do you think of immediately, she is fucking stunning. I stared at her face because her face is just perfect. Amy
I know who
Robach.
you're going to say. Hunter Schafer. You know what, man? Beth thinks I'm leaving her for Hunter Schafer. I follow Hunter Schafer
Who
on
is
Instagram.
Hunter Schafer?
Hunter Schafer is trans. And she's on the TV show. And she still has balls and penis, by the way. And the other day, like I was talking about Hunter Schafer, and Beth goes, "You're in love with Hunter Schafer." I said, "That's right. I am in love with Hunter Schafer." She goes, "Yeah, well, what are you going to do with Hunter Schafer?" I go, "I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure. Not sure how that works." But I go, "I don't know. I don't know what's doing down there."
Welcome, ladies and gents, back to QF, a podcast about Howard Stern. I'm Fillmore, your host, a.k.a. Jim Fix. With me for part 7 of the Quivers and Arsehole saga is Lady K herself, back from a bit of a hiatus since the last the Summit Foundation, the Summit Cult, whatever, Landmark Forums, my mistake, episode that we covered before I went to Canada. How are you, my dear?
I'm good. I'm unfuckable with.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm super fuckable with. So,
I think I am too.
guys, when we covered that episode, we got really good notices for it because and it was fascinating because a lot of people would not know to look at that thing. A lot of people, even casual Stern fans, would not know that existed because who's searching for it? Who's looking for Robin being unfuckable with?
Nobody.
Which we found out was it you that mentioned that? Yeah, it was stolen from something else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Book? We found a book with the title was "Unfuckable With."
Yeah.
Ridiculous. So ridiculous.
And then or a meme. Was it a meme or a book?
Well, both. I've seen the meme too. I saw the meme first, and then I looked up the book and saw that. Ridiculous.
So we're gonna delve back a little bit into a clip we just covered previous to this for part 6, which was the actual Quivers and Arsehole. But then we're gonna go right into the summit stuff. So just a little bit of revision, just to get our minds into it.
It was time to start thinking about getting out of the Air Force. I could actually feel my future about to begin when the Air Force threw me a hard, fast curve. One payday, I'd noticed that my check was short and had gone to the finance office to get the discrepancy resolved. Maybe if I'd never questioned that check, everything would have been okay. As it was, I discovered that the Air Force had been overpaying me the entire time I'd been in. The overpayments now amounted to a staggering $10,000. The whole thing was the result of a clerical error, but that didn't stop the Air Force from wanting me to return the cash. I was forced to extend my tour of duty for 6 months, taking a huge salary cut to expedite the payback. It was a bitter pill to swallow, but I had no other options.
Okay, first of all, she did have an option. Had she been a real good money manager, she could have had the money on hand and then paid them off and left. She was forced to because she had no fucking money. And what kind of money manager are you if you can't even give them a portion of it while you're going? You had to stay to have them garnish your wages longer. You should count yourself fortunate, actually, that they allowed you to do that.
Or maybe, yes, all of that is exactly true. And secondly, maybe say something when you get your first check and it's more than it should be. Like, I don't know. Look, I know it's exciting, right? It is very exciting.
Wow.
And
an extra zero.
Right. Like, but that's coming back around eventually, right?
Well, yeah, that's it. I mean, it's if it happened one time, but the thing is, everybody, how many hours you work, how many, like how much you should be getting roughly, like minus a bit in taxes or something, or there's some kind of, that at the end of the year they take a little, they give you a little less because it's something having to do with some aspect of governance. I don't know, we call it. UI, EI, employment insurance, unemployment insurance, basically paying for people who are out of work. But there might be a part of the year where the one check is lower than every other check for some reason. But it's a given. You remember this. If you're getting paid extra, there's no way you don't know where that fucking money is from. You have to look at it and go, the minute you get your check, you go, there's something wrong here. I'm not supposed to be getting this much.
Exactly. And especially with the Air Force, like it's not like you're on an hourly pay scale where it could change depending on the number of hours you work. No, you get like a flat, I'm making this up, but you get like a flat $1,500 a month, just say that. And it would be the same every single month. And you know what your pay is before, like as you're enlisting, you know what your pay is. So if she got, making it up again, $500 more than she should have, she gets $2,000. That's too much.
Well, and even at the old job, when I was still in Canada, I was working 2 jobs at the same place, 2 different pay scales for the 2 different jobs, because one was really, both part-time, but the paycheck I got delineated how many hours at this wage and how many hours at that wage. And it was all, had to be full and completely transparent. Otherwise there'd be a problem with the finances somewhere and someone would fuck up. So you had to know that before you even cashed the damn check. I mean, now these days, a lot of places go direct deposit. So, and you don't get a stub, or maybe you get it on like a digital version. But back then it was all paper. You saw it in your hands before it went anywhere near the bank.
Exactly. And look, we all want a little bonus. And look, if it was a little bit more, I'd probably take it too and not say anything. I mean, really, if I'm being honest. But
I'm so awesome bonus.
I know. Just because we like you, Robin.
Yeah.
But look, really, at the end of the day, if it's like a considerable amount of money and it goes on and on and on, I'm saying something because it's coming back around. You're not getting away with that. You just know.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when you're dealing with the government. It's not like you're working for Bob's Plumbing Supply with the lady Debbie in the back. Like, no, this is the government. They're going to catch it.
Yeah.
At that point, my life began to unravel completely. I stopped seeing people and stopped paying bills. My phone was eventually shut off. For the first time in my life, I couldn't manage to do anything.
Okay, so there's the second paragraph on page 107. The first outward sign that something was wrong, this is the second paragraph, was the sudden onset of chronic lateness. I actually caught myself waking up early one morning to turn off my alarm clock before it rang so that I would oversleep. I had to move it across the room so that I'd be fully awake when I turned it off. Even when I did get to work, I couldn't finish my shift.
I'd burst into tears at the drop of a hat.
Soon I was crying at the beginning of my shift, too. My supervisor really wanted to help, but she just couldn't let me out of the Air Force, and I didn't know of anything else that would work. So the next part of the whole page is all about Muhammad Ali near the end of his career. And he was kind of staggering along, winning decisions but not knocking anybody out. And then Leon Spinks beat him on points in like 78 or something like that, and he lost the title. The judges scored the match to Leon, and she decided to take this as part of herself. Can you read the last paragraph of the page?
Even in my weakened state, I wouldn't let anyone demean the champ in my presence. When a sergeant from another clinic came into my office crowning that the slimy draft...
Crowing.
Oh, crowing. I was like, what does crowning mean? Oh, yeah, I can't read.
That's okay.
When a sergeant from another clinic came into my office crowing that the slimy draft dodger had finally gotten what he deserved, I roared. Got what he deserved? That draft dodger could buy and sell you with what he's got in his pocket.
Isn't that just very telling? Like the money aspect. He's worth more than you, so he is more than you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
And that means everything. Money is power. The end.
Oh yeah. The next paragraph continues. The sergeant couldn't understand how another member of the service could defend Ali, but when he checked out my collar, he knew there was no room for argument. Any other time, I would have been glad to waive. First of all, they misspelled this. Wave, it should be A-I-V-E, not W-A-V, like wave your hand. The privilege of rank to take him on, but I was about as tired as my hero, and I let my silver captain's bars do most of the talking.
She is so gross. You know that in this, she is paralleling herself to Muhammad Ali in the injustice that they both endured from the military.
Yeah.
She is Muhammad Ali, she thinks.
Well, but it's worse than that. Like she's young. Like she's starting out her career. She's acting like she's just been through the ringer, like 10, like however many fights. One of the last lines in the paragraph before the last one on page 107 says, reads, "This loss appears to be it was harder and harder to defend Ali when his detractors said he couldn't fight anymore. This loss appeared to be a confirmation of that sentiment. Ali had stayed too long at the dance, just like me." Like, what dance have you stayed too long at, bitch? You're in your 20s.
I know. What are you talking about?
Right.
What is she talking about?
So, why don't you start to read the next one, paragraph number 2 on page 108.
Too angry already. I need pills when I do this. Yeah.
Your life has to be better than this.
Oh, it is. It definitely is.
Okay.
Eventually, I gave up my head nurse position because I couldn't function anymore and returned to pediatrics, where they put me on the night shift, the least demanding shift of the day. Even when I didn't have to be at work until 11 o'clock at night, I managed to oversleep, working all night and sleeping all day.
Okay,
I lost track of time.
Hold on. Right. So here's the last bit of audio. Hold on.
I lost track of time. The only thing that really made me feel better was ice cream. Soon it became my entire diet. I was putting away up to a gallon a day. I didn't feel secure unless there was at least a half gallon in the freezer.
Okay, hold on.
Jesus, woman. A gallon?
Well, this is okay. So this is how that one ends. I stopped watching TV and listening to music. When I was awake, I cried. I had become consumed with the thought that I was going to die in the Air Force, that it was killing me. I prayed in the dark, lying on the living room floor. Please, Lord, just one day of freedom. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what's this I don't know what it is. Some would say, okay, well, she's still dealing with PTSD from abuse. She's not mentioned that.
She's pitching a fucking fit because she didn't get her way.
Yeah.
She is being held accountable by the Air Force for the money she owes them, and she can't take it. She
Right.
cannot handle it.
Right. Like, I'm stuck here. Like, it's against my will.
Yes.
Yes. And it's not against my will. That's the key. It's all, like, it's pure narcissism, 100%.
Of course it is.
Our Air Force overpaid me. It's their fault. And yeah, it was their fault. But what do you do in that situation? It's up to you. If you're so hot shit, you should be able to notice this to tell them so they could stop it. And then you don't have to stay an extra 6 months. You don't stay any extra time. You just go lighter one paycheck to make up for the shortfall, and then you're fine. Like most people, yes, a lot of people live paycheck to paycheck, but in that situation, no dependents. They're taking care of your room and board, as far as I know, or at least partially. And so it continues here. My diet went to hell too. I no longer cooked. If it hadn't been for McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's, I would have starved. Really? Really? Like fast food. There's no other place to eat in the world.
No. And they didn't have ramen noodles back then. I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
God.
I developed this strange notion that I had to hide being single. So when I went to a fast food place, I ordered enough for two.
What? What? That is a lie.
It's not like you had to
She
hide. It's not you had to
wanted
hide.
to.
She wanted to eat for two.
Right. She wanted to order two.
Yes.
So she concocted a story. Oh, the second one's for my boyfriend. They don't give a shit.
Yeah. No one like. What do you go up to the cash and say? Yeah, I'll
Let me see your merit.
I'll get a 6th Big Mac for my boyfriend. He's really hungry. He's a linebacker.
Right. Let me see your marriage certificate in order to get this second one. No.
Is there an invisible spouse discount at Burger King that I don't know about?
I don't know. She's out of her mind.
So once you continue from the near the end where it says I stocked up.
I stocked up every day. I was eating so much, and it took to rotating stores so that the clerks wouldn't see me every day. My favorite was Friendly's vanilla chocolate chip. There was a whole circuit of Friendly's stores that I visited. At holiday time, I liked the Yule log and eggnog flavors too.
Oh yeah, that was all. She was all in. So anytime you hear Yule log, guys, you know where to refer to again. So I think the last bit of, let me see if this is correct. Hold on. This last one is called Free at Last, Martin Luther Manatee.
As my new discharge date neared, I could see light at the end of the tunnel and began to pull myself together. I had already decided I was going to head out to California, one of the places I'd wanted to go when I joined the Air Force.
Okay, and then it continues. Since I was driving, I had to get my car serviced for the trip. With no friends and no phone, I drove to the dealership one morning after work. Since it was a short drive, I figured it would make a nice walk home. That pleasant stroll turned out to be an 8-mile trek along a deserted road. Once I got home, I collapsed on my bed. My legs aching, but that afternoon I started back to the dealership. I didn't know how long. I didn't take long, pardon me, to know that I wasn't going to make it, and when a car appeared and stopped for me, I climbed right in. My guardian angel must have been looking out for me because the driver turned out to be a really sweet elderly gentleman who took me all the way to the car place. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Pardon me. Thank you. Continue the second paragraph, please.
When I came out of my emotional coma, I had about 2 weeks of vacation left, and I used them to terminate my bondage early.
Bondage.
Bondage. Jesus Christ. My furniture was already on its way to San Francisco. I'd managed to save $1,000, and my credit card balances were within reason. I'd visit my family in Baltimore for 4 days, and then spend the rest of the time in Pittsburgh with Linda and David Zimmerman, 2 former Air Force buddies whose friendship I value to this day.
Didn't you just finish the last paragraph saying I had no friends?
Yes, that is what she said.
Which is it?
I don't know.
What if someone came to you and said, I have no friends, and then and then in that same breath said, I'm meeting some friends later today? Wouldn't you just run in the opposite direction really quickly?
Yeah, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah. Not the fact that they don't have any friends, but why are you
Psychopath.
saying you do friends, you have friends, you don't have friends? Which is it?
I have no friends. Like, is she whining? Like,
I,
oh, I have no friends. Is she doing like that? Or is she like, I had no friends.
you
Now
know
I'm
what?
gonna go see David and Zimmerman.
I
David
think
Zimmerman.
I, first of all, I think, and first of all, like, and now a last name appears, not just two first names, but last names
Hmm.
appear suddenly. That's fine. And maybe they're pseudonyms, who knows? But I don't think so. The other thing is, it sounds to me like this is where she stopped narrating her story. I don't think she wrote it full hand, not like longhand. I think she looked into a tape recorder. She had the stuff transcribed by someone. She's too lazy. I don't believe she wrote this all down in manuscript and then submitted. There's
No,
no way.
I don't either. And I don't believe that either. And it's doing that thing again where it doesn't really make any sense. There's no rhyme or reason to the flow that's happening here.
Yeah,
And,
it's not connected.
no, it's not connected. It's disjointed. And then who do we know about Linda and David Zimmerman? Has she ever spoken these names
I don't
before?
believe so. And like maybe later on you're gonna see those names again, but not and maybe I'll have to look it up on Mark Spriggan. But would he be that astute as to type them out and remember those? I doubt it. So I'd have
I
to
don't know. I doubt it.
really
Yeah.
search hard for that.
Mm.
The next paragraph, number 3. I told my parents. This is on page 109, guys. I told my parents that I could only get a long weekend because I didn't want to spend my final days on the East Coast with them. I was tired, I needed rest, and I was too weak to deal with them. Even though my father had gone through rehab and taken the cure while I was in the service, they had assured me that things had changed, but I was afraid to go home. I had to go somewhere I'd feel safe, and that was with Linda and Z, as we called him. Donning my mask with a happy face, I re-entered the world. Let's see what we got here.
The day of my discharge, I pointed my car west. I was free again and was off to California to seek my fortune. I had managed to survive the terrible darkness that had surrounded me, and now embarked on a quest to find myself in a place where nobody knew me.
Isn't that just everywhere in the world?
Yeah. Anywhere.
She's that
You can
famous.
drive to, I know, like, well, she thinks she's Muhammad Ali, so I guess,
Well,
she is famous in her mind. What is she
that
talking about?
that like if she had written it a little differently, like if I embarked on a quest to find myself in a place I knew nothing about, that
Yeah,
shows vulnerability. To say, well, a place where no one knew me, it smacks of arrogance.
it is. And, you could have gone to North Dakota and nobody would have known you.
Yeah.
But she's making it out like, I have to go to California, get my fortune, and nobody's going to know me.
Yep.
What?
And then with my final paycheck, I now had $2,000 in cash and no deadlines except your fucking credit card bills. And I was headed for California, where for me there was no past, only the infinite possibilities of a brighter future. So the next one, believe it or not, okay, so this is, we're going into chapter 9, guys, Playground. And Playground, of course, is the beginning of the cult that she joins, Est, landmark form now. So why don't you read the italicized paragraph that starts it off, which of course is called A Favorite Dream. Do you have favorite dreams, by the way, that recur?
No, I
Right.
don't. The only recurring dream I have is crashing in an airplane. And I usually have it when I'm super stressed out. I would
Really?
not call it my favorite. Yeah, I do. I do have that. It's weird. It's not the
Wow.
same dream, but it is an airplane crash.
Wow.
Yeah, it's weird.
And have
Hmm.
you looked it up in the analysis of dreams to see what that's supposed to mean? Because it's not as quick, cut and dry as, well, it means you crashed in a plane. It's something. It has some other significance.
No, I haven't, but I know somebody, not to get off on a tangent, but I know somebody who does a lot of dream interpretation. She's a
Sure.
psychologist, though.
Okay.
And she studies Carl Jung, so she's got all the shadow and the dream stuff behind her, and she's legitimate, not a
Okay.
dum-dum.
Yeah.
And she said that a lot of times your subconscious will just at nighttime, because you're settled and you don't
Yeah.
have the daytime to, distract you, that it'll come up. It's that your subconscious is coming up and presenting to you feelings is really what it is. So like it was the feeling, like my brain turned my feelings of stress and anxiety and hopelessness or whatever into a plane crash.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It manifested itself and had to. So it has to come out, but it's coming out in your subconscious, as opposed to, you're driving a car and suddenly, oh, there's a light pole.
Let me smash it.
Let me
Yeah.
smash into it.
I have thought that a time or two. I didn't do it. Didn't do
Okay.
it. Intrusive thought. It's an intrusive thought.
Yes, it goes away. Like it will go
Yes.
away if you let it. Yeah. So this one is great. It's so the italic already with the italics, you know that this is like formal Robin speak. So she's got to be Queen Vic again.
I'm standing center stage behind lush velvet curtains, eyes closed and a head bowed in a moment of silent meditation. Mic in one hand, spelled wrong. I use the other to stroke the beautiful fabric of my gown. Out front, the house is packed, and the crowd is abuzz with anticipation. The house lights go down. The orchestra strikes up the introduction to one of my biggest songs, and the curtain rises. Searching spotlights find me on stage. The crowd erupts in thunderous applause, and I drink in the love pouring forth from this adoring throng.
Robin is triumph. We need the Robin music for this one.
We do.
Oh fuck! I should have it
Fucking
on
lunatic.
Yes, that is lunacy. When I was a child, we're talking when I was 8 or 7, and I thought I loved like guitar for some reason, and I thought I equated guitar, rock star with, the fame and fortune and how great it would be to be, this famous and all that stuff. But I was 8. Not 20 something.
Right. Look, I'll even give us from time to time, we want to go to karaoke night and blow the crowd away. Just like a funny little fantasy or dream, a funny little thing.
On a lower scale,
Right. And like you said, when we're young, I wanted to be Mariah Carey. I pretend or whatever. This shit, adult woman, and it is so detailed and so over the top, like, lady.
If I ever do a tour of the States, of course you'd be one of the people I would visit. If the karaoke, I got dibs on. We will do a duet of "Islands in the Stream" with Kenny Rogers and Dolly.
Yes. Yeah.
So because I was thinking the other day, like, because karaoke is it's massive in Japan, of course, and the song selection is it's schmaltzy, as you might imagine, but sometimes they have like alt rock selections that are not, you wouldn't expect to see them. And I'm not talking Slipknot or super popular like Limp Bizkit stuff back in the day. I'm talking classic whatever it is, and it's reproduced pretty faithfully. So you'd expect to find all the Barry Manilow stuff and the Neil Diamond stuff. Of course, the Carpenters are huge, but that's to cover all your bases, Sinatra, all that stuff. But they also have a good lot of, stuff you wouldn't expect. They had Black Flag in there. They've got, the Rolling Stones.
Really? That's fun.
Do. Yeah.
That's a lot of fun.
One time we did some punk karaoke, and the crowd, they loved it because they don't usually hear that kind of shit.
I bet.
Yeah. So she's headed to the West Coast. Discharge papers in hand, I jumped in my car and headed for the I-70. The road out of town. I was free. I still owed the Air Force a few grand. A few grand? I thought she was free. Hold on, let me go right back there. Let me see that last bit there. What did she say? I had a credit card. Okay. I had, with my final paycheck, I now had $2,000 in cash and no deadlines. No deadlines. Meaning work obligations, but not like financial deadlines. Okay. Okay, that makes perfect sense. But my military lawyer assured me that they'd never come after me for such a paltry sum. Well, they did, actually. Yeah. And I think, I seem to recall she tried to get away from paying for that last little bit. She skipped out of town and they found her, of course. And then
what is wrong with her?
She cannot, there's something about the narc. They can't accept responsibility for their misdeeds, basically. And if they feel that they're owed, that's it. Like, they're owed, not I owe. They are owed.
Exactly. And I bet you there was something psychological about her leaving a balance with them. Mm-hmm. Like, she was going to stick it to them one last time. She was not going to pay in full.
Yes.
Like, on purpose.
Like, fuck you for fucking me, for fucking
Yep.
you.
Right.
So it said, even though I'd promised to set up a new payment schedule as soon as I found a job, I was leaving the Air Force without looking back. So she wasn't planning on paying them back. That was meant to be like, fuck you, till you take care of my tuition. That's it. So we'll go to, let's see. It was June and the sun was beating down on the flat Ohio landscape. And the sun beating down on the flat Ohio landscape felt good. I heaved a huge sigh of relief as I passed through the gates of Wright-Patterson for the last time, thanking my lucky stars that I hadn't done something stupid out of boredom or while waiting for this ordeal to end. I could have gotten married, or God forbid, I could have gotten pregnant. If I had, I would have been running away now instead of going to a new place to find myself. So you would have ditched your child and, your bastard, essentially.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
World. Like, what in the world?
Okay, so we're up to page 111. Okay, this is at this point, like if you, let's say you were Robin's friend, whatever that means in any circumstance, and she said, "Oh, I have a book out," and she didn't even tell you. You went and read it. Wouldn't you change your number and move?
I'm really trying to put myself in that position, and like this was handed to me by my friend who I probably already knew was a little kooky, but we let it slide because, whatever.
Right.
And I read this and I would really question, like, what the fuck? Like, I would probably have to ghost her at this point. Yeah.
Yes.
Block. Well, they didn't have blocking back then, but yeah, change your number. Move
identity.
I don't know. Like, witness protection program. I don't know. Poor Dave and Linda. Like, that's probably not even their real names now.
No.
They probably did.
Maybe that's why it's protected.
I think so.
Why don't you read the next paragraph and I'll handle number 3.
I really needed to be out and on my own. Some people handle things better surrounded by friends and family, but I've always found that I do my best work solo. It might have scared another person to have no one to call and no one to leave behind. But for me, having no strings felt just right. My first stop was Indianapolis. I'd lived in Dayton for 2.5 years, but had never gotten any farther west. So even though Indianapolis was about 100 miles away, I decided I'd better see it now. I wasn't planning on ever coming back this way again.
Okay, first of all, no strings is nonsense. There's always her parents as a fallback, which she neglects to mention.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
and
because she's depended on them for so much throughout the book, it's not something you could forget. Like if she had just ended with them and moved on with her life, different story. But she doesn't. She keeps coming back to them because she's a loser, essentially.
Every time. And then again, she sits here and talks about having no friends is so freeing.
Yes.
But just a few pages back, she's like, oh, I don't have any friends.
Yeah. And I don't need friends, but you do need friends. Everybody needs friends on some level.
Of course.
At one point or another, even if it's just a call. The paragraph number 3, guys, on page 111. I started the trip staying at Ramada Inns, although as my funds dwindled, I would have to cut back and end it at Motel 6s. I had gotten Reggie to score me an ounce of pot before I left Ohio, and after stopping at a convenience store and picking up some beer my first night on the road, I settled into a little Ramada room and rolled a joint. Smoking and drinking alone wasn't my cup of tea, so I stamped out the joint, rolled up the baggie of pot, tucked it into the side of my overnight case, and forgot about it for the rest of the trip. Okay, wonderful. I broke up the driving into 200-mile chunks following a route mapped out for me by AAA. When I reached someplace interesting, I stopped for 2 or 3 days to take in the sights. Well, you must have had some amount of money. It must have stretched a lot further back then. For 2 or 3 days, you got to eat, you need accommodations, and you need gas and stuff. So I don't know what she's talking about, having to cut back on Ramadas and going to Motel 6s. Ramadas were considered normal priced hotels even back then, weren't they?
I don't know. I think so. I think they
I know
were.
that
they were like
Motel
a
6,
step up, right?
Motel 6 does exist, right? Still?
It does. And I think those are like base level, right?
Yeah.
So back then, I mean, she had $2,000,
Yes.
she said. I still am confused how long it took her to get to California. 3 weeks, 4 weeks,
Well,
I guess.
well,
Two
that's
weeks.
it. Hold on. I managed to do all the major cities across the Southwest: Houston, Albuquerque, Las Vegas. While in a town, I'd go to museums, state houses, zoos, and Indian reservations. Okay. The angry eyes of the young Indian guides were familiar. It was the same look I'd seen in the glare of angry young youths, young blacks hanging out on ghetto corners. Seeing that hate directed at me made me feel ashamed. They were right. I belonged to the system that had stolen their land and forced them onto reservations, killing the spirit of their people. Why don't you read the last paragraph?
Vegas was so tempting, it was scary. Especially frightening were the signs heading in and out of town that proclaimed, "We pay cash for your car." By now, my travel bank was getting low, and I could just imagine going into one of those casinos and losing all the rest of my money. I decided to enjoy the lights from the highway and kept going, stopping only to see the Hoover Dam.
Okay. And why don't you continue the next one?
I had planned to use this time on the road to recharge my battery. Taking in the vastness and the beauty of America did have a restorative effect, but I'd seen on the road for almost 2 months now. 2 months I'd been on the road.
Yeah.
And felt it was time to get where I was going. I still had about $500, but car trouble cut that amount in half just after I crossed the Arizona state line. I was desperate to get to San Francisco as soon as I could.
And I do remember what gas prices were of that in that era. So gas was super cheap even during the oil crisis. It was it was a problem, but there was stuff. Burgers were a quarter, that kind of thing. Maybe 50 cents. So yeah, it could stretch. $2,000 would take you quite far, I suppose.
Yeah, maybe, because I just did the math. I'm like, how much would a hotel be back then? $20? Probably.
Let's find out, just out of curiosity. Hold on. Okay, Ramada Inn hotel rooms were generally in the $12 to $25 range back then.
$12.
Okay, let's try. Cost of gas per gallon. 36 cents a gallon. Approximately. Okay, it translates to approximately $2.70 when adjusted to inflation to $2022. So
So she spent $1,500 in 2 months. I mean, that sounds about right. If
I guess so. Yeah.
things were so cheap.
Yeah, I think so. Let's see. Crossing. Okay, let's see where we go here. We're going to go into the paragraph number 2 on page 112. Crossing the mountains into California was some of the hardest driving I encountered on the entire trip. I had to do it in one long, exhausting session, which took a lot out of me. But late one afternoon, as dusk was falling, I saw houses nestled in hills, and I knew I was close to the city that would be my new home. I was surprised at the lack of uniformity of San Francisco architecture. An orange house stood side by side with a greenhouse, then a pink one. I thought people who lived here must be crazy. California was supposed to be warm, or so I'd always heard, but the closer I got to San Francisco, the colder it got. It was a startling contrast to the drought-scorched desert I'd just crossed in record heat. Finally surrendering to the temperature, I rummaged through the trunk of my car for a jacket. California was not like I'd pictured it, but I'd come all this way, and there was no turning back. Why is that? Is it the breeze from the ocean that makes San Francisco so much colder? Because it's legendarily colder than, let's say, Big Sur or San Diego or somewhere like that.
Yeah, I don't know, honestly.
Okay. Anybody who knows in the listeners, please let us know, because I've never been out west, to be honest with you, outside of transfers in, Vancouver, that kind of stuff.
And I wonder if, so San Francisco's very hilly, has lots of little mountains and things. I wonder if it has something to do with that too, like it blocks, like it's in a valley-ish kind of, maybe?
Could be. It could be. I mean, I know that the water itself is massively cold, like so what about the next bit of audio comes here. It's called, let me see if this is correct, Great Schwoogie Sales Rep.
The room I took was small, with a twin bed right in the center of it. You could pay by the day, week, or month, and the price included the room and 2 meals a day. It was like dorm living again.
It said the place was called the Nob Hill Women's Residence Hotel. I'm sure maybe it exists now, but I have no idea. And so, yeah, it sounded like a hostel, more or less.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's continue. Hold on. Let me make sure where the rest of this goes. Okay, yeah. So the rest of it is not covered in the audio. The hotel was right on the edge of the ritzy Nob Hill section of San Francisco, which was famous for its Victorian residences. But if you walked the wrong way, which I did that first day, you landed right in the heart of the strip of gay male pickup joints on Polk Street. Howard would love this place. It was Sunday afternoon, and I had slept through breakfast at the hotel, so I went looking for a quiet place to eat and stopped at the first coffee shop I saw. I took a stool at the counter, began to read the want ads in the paper I'd brought with me, and ignored the very obvious and rude stares I'd noticed the moment I walked in. A whiskey-voiced waitress took my order, but she too seemed surprised by my presence. When my omelet arrived, I took a second look at my waitress. That's when I discovered she was no waitress, she was a man. I definitely wasn't in Kansas anymore. So at first they were like, staring because she's black or she's whatever. No, you're getting a gay joint, honey.
What's a lady doing here?
Exactly. Why don't you take the next two?
At least I had a lot in common with my fellow hotel residents who were all in the midst of major transitions. They either had just arrived in California, were starting out, or were starting over after a divorce. There was a wealth of worldly knowledge behind the doors of these small rooms, and in time many of the other residents would prove to be invaluable resources for me.
So, in other words, people she could take advantage of.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Get her things.
Yep.
In plotting out my job hunting strategy, I decided to pick a field in which my nursing degree would be an asset. After some thought, I recalled a pharmaceuticals lecture where I'd heard during my stint in shock trauma. The speaker, who had once been a nurse, was a sales representative for a drug company. It just so happened that a number of drug companies called California home, and there were tons of listings for pharmaceutical sales reps in the Sunday paper.
Bright and early that first Monday morning in the city, I picked up the phone and made a few appointments. I showed up for my first interview wearing a flower print cotton-wrapped skirt, a white shell, and a brown leather jacket. Needless to say, geez, what is that, cactus chic? Okay. Needless to say, the interview was a short one, and I never heard from that company again. When they heard my account of this episode, my newfound career counselors at the women's residence lost no time in whipping me into shape. Nothing in nursing had ever prepared me for the world of business. In my experience, interviews were just a formality. If you had the license, the experience, and the references, the job was yours. Since I'd only worked in hospitals, I was a babe in the woods as far as office protocol was concerned. Thanks to the women at the hotel, I quickly acquired a professional-looking resume and cover sheet, business cards, and a spectacular interview suit. It was my first real makeover, and when I wore my interview outfit, I looked like $1 million. So she was a rube, but also like a person starting out. You don't know these things. You learn these things. How to write a CV, how to, there's no internet at this time. So I'll give her a pass for that.
Agree.
So how about the next part?
Before I could concentrate fully on my job search, I was going to need some money. I knew I'd be trapped in a couple of weeks, and I also knew that I wasn't going to score the kind of job I wanted that fast. That meant that I was going to have to do some nursing, at least temporarily, and I wound up driving all the way to Sacramento to get a temporary license. My intensive care experience put me in demand at the temporary agencies, and almost immediately I was working 2 or 3 days a week, which put money in my pocket and gave me time to look for a non-nursing job.
I could have gotten lazy about finding a new career since the temporary nursing jobs were so plentiful and the money was so good, but something happened that would make finding a different way to make a living a top priority. I was sitting in report on a medical floor in a hospital I'd never worked in before, when I started seeing spots in front of my eyes and realized I was just about to faint. The other nurses never noticed my condition, but just handed me an assignment card. If a student hadn't offered to help me find my way around, I might have hit the deck. She got me to a restroom where I sat with my head between my knees to get some blood to my brain. It was then that I realized how sick I was of the people in my profession. They were so burned out after a couple of years that they couldn't even see what was happening right in front of them. What assholes. They didn't notice you were fainting. Well, you know when it happens so quickly, and they're out busy doing other things, a lot of people won't notice unless they're looking right at you and they see you
Right.
losing your, we've all seen people faint. It happens quick.
It does happen quick. And she's sitting there because she's a drama queen.
Yes.
It's not like she passed out on the floor and everybody stepped over.
Stepped
and kept
over.
like walking, you know?
What's this bitch in our way? Fuck her. It was then that I promised myself I was getting out of nursing. It was the last time I worked in a hospital in California. So why don't you take the next one?
Meanwhile, word had hit the street that a great black sales rep, Foxy Brown in the house, candidate was looking for a placement with a pharmaceutical company. Employment agencies actually started recruiting me, and I got to interview with all the best firms. But because I stopped taking nursing gigs, another money crunch forced me to jump at my first real offer of employment.
I wanted to start playing the music for Shaft, like right then.
I know. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Word on the street.
Yeah.
An ad in the paper for an RN to help start a new temporary nursing agency, followed it up, and got the position.
My duties consisted of interviewing and checking the references of applicants and filling orders from understaffed hospitals with the best candidate for the assignment. I still hadn't severed all my ties with nursing, but it was the first job I'd ever held where I didn't have to wear a uniform. So let's go with. Okay, yeah. Now that I knew where my next meal was coming from, I settled for a long stay at the residence hotel, even installing a phone line in my room so that I could field weekend calls from my new job. I was feeling so up, I even checked in with my parents. I had given up making the mandatory weekly call during those dark days in the Air Force. They hadn't heard from me in a while, and were worried because I was so far from home. I actually hated talking to them. Okay, why don't you take the next one, because we're back to Mrs. Quivers.
Ugh. Never one to look on the bright side, my mother's conversations were filled to overflowing with tragic tales of misfortune. This one was pregnant and not married. That one had lost a job. Someone's son had flunked out of school, and someone else's was going to jail. Once I'd been away for a while, I'd noticed that she was telling me exclusively sad stories about the people I didn't even know. Once I asked if anything good ever happened to the people she knew. When she answered yes, I asked why she never bothered to tell me those stories. After that, she never had much to say when I called.
You know what that reminds me of exactly, now that you mention that? And the first time we covered this book at Gunk, this didn't even occur to me. She used to put nothing but sad shit stories in her news for a while there. Like sometimes she would follow up some story with something incredibly depressing. And her emphasis was shitty stories, like misfortunes that were happening to people losing their jobs, famous people in the middle of a divorce, whatever. It was always depressing. So there's a little like irony, talking about her mother like this, when this is kind of what Robin's bread and butter was: horrible stories about people.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah. So let's go for the next bit of audio here. This is at the bottom paragraph on page 115, guys.
San Francisco turned out to be a friendly place, but I still hadn't made any connections outside the little group I socialized with at the hotel. One day a makeup artist came to give us a demonstration, and I wound up being the model for that demonstration. Jill, the makeup artist, was a pretty blonde woman who spoke with an incredible ease and confidence. As she was packing up to leave, she called me over and told me, "You seem like a really nice person, someone who might be open to new things." I was flattered, and when she asked me to attend a meeting with her the following night, I accepted without bothering to ask what it was.
Okay, this is what we all do, right? Let's just join, By the way, there's going to be a lynching out by Route 70. Why don't you join us? What's that? I mean, the first thing you do in something like this is what's going on. Why would you just do it without knowing? Because you're afraid of,
right.
You don't want to sound like you're an idiot, but in this situation, you have to.
Mm-hmm. And so if she said to her, imagine someone saying to you, "You look like somebody that's open to new things.
You
Want
might
to come
think
with me?
Swinging.
What? Are we going to an orgy?
Yeah, well,
Is that what we're doing?
That's exactly what I was thinking. Like, what if you might be open to new things and you're in San Francisco, put two and two together. What does this sound like?
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I thought she was going to say, to be honest. But
Well,
that's where my mind went.
and Robin probably would have gone.
I know. I'm
Like,
thinking that's why she went. She didn't even ask. She
yeah,
got there and she was all disappointed.
yeah.
Myself in an industrial park in South San Francisco the very next evening. After we'd pulled into the parking lot of a warehouse, I began to have my doubts. Maybe it was some wacky California cult.
And it says here, my fellow passengers had difficulty explaining just what kind of lecture I'd be attending. I didn't have the faintest idea whether it was a reality-based group or some wacky California cult. Just what I'd gotten myself into, I wondered. And the next one is Summit Cult Begins.
Inside, I was relieved to find it was warm and brightly lit, with a lot of attractive, well-dressed people standing around sipping coffee.
When the lecture was about to begin, first-timers like me were ushered down a long hallway into a large room with brown, carton-covered walls. Lovely. Folding chairs were arranged in rows, and we were encouraged to take seats at the front near a small riser. One by one, we were asked to stand and share our names and who had invited us, after which the speaker for the evening was introduced. And I believe the concept is the more people that you bring, the more money the cult will give that person, because you've referred people and if those people join, then you get a bit of a commission or something.
It's kind of like a pyramid scheme or like
Yeah.
a MLM, one of
Yeah.
those,
Yeah.
like Avon or something. It's really crazy.
Right, and we discussed that, a little of that. We mentioned that, you mentioned that on the last episode. And the next, let's see if I got this.
The speaker that night was a tall, slender woman who called herself Catherine Starfire. For 45 minutes, she held us rapt as she recounted how lost and confused she had been before the day a few short months ago when she'd found herself sitting just where we were now. She claimed that after taking a workshop called Playground, her whole life had changed. Now she was a happening human being with a great job and a wonderful relationship with a man. She'd been taking workshops ever since and conducted guest lectures for free because she believed in them so much. Ever the skeptic, I tried to rattle her with some biting questions. Never losing her cool, she fielded each one with aplomb.
Okay, first of all, how many people use a plum in their regular life?
I
I'm
have
sure
never
Robin
heard
didn't know
that
what that
word.
meant.
No, of course not.
Only in literature. I've seen it in literature, but I've never used it out loud, so it's nonsense. And the other thing is, okay, so a person that just a few short months ago was, she was, lost, and now you're going to take her advice?
2 months.
Yeah.
2 months. What does she know in 2 months? It's just radically changed her life. And now she's some kind of wise woman. And her last name's Starfire, which
is bullshit. It's
oh
bullshit.
God, it is bullshit. And I always think of those people holding the drums and like in a circle with like the man as a ponytail and he calls himself Phoenix Wolf Cloud. You know what I mean?
Is that a name is that a name you came up with, or is it in a book?
No, I have been saying that name for a while now. Anytime I talk about those people,
I love it.
made it up.
It's a woo-woo name.
It is. I know. I love it.
Okay, so let's be realistic about this though. If there was a time, and I understand you talked a little bit about your upbringing before, but if there was a time in your adult life where you would have been most vulnerable, would you say it was like in your 20s, like where it would have been possible to be part of this and not realize you're getting taken in? Or would you always have been, wait a minute, ask questions first and then make,
I think probably in my 20s, I would have been the most susceptible to this kind of thing because I think you are kind of curious at that age about things, and the thing is, and for those of you who don't know, it's not funny, but I have to laugh about it because it was really kind of horrible. My family was in a cult, legit for my mom, my stepdad were in it for 20 years. I left. I was only in it 7 years, I think, 7 or 8 years. I mean, it was terrible, but it was crazy as fuck too. So there's that. With that, I've always been a little bit skeptical of people, but Some of these people are good. And if they're very charismatic, I tend to like charismatic people. I'm just like drawn to them, you know? And so I have to be a little careful with that because the next thing you know, you're like in this shit and you don't like you didn't see it coming is what I'm getting at. Like it really is easy to get roped into this kind of thing. If you're in a certain way, like young people, very susceptible, people who are vulnerable,
Yes.
people who are, and they really prey on these people too, which is terrible. It's really awful. Like people are going through a hard time, they're lost, you know, they've had a lot of hardship. And so here are these great people, you know, that treat you like a family and they're going to change your life and be there for you. So of course it sounds all great.
Yeah.
But then you get in.
Yeah. I don't want to use the word damaged, but yeah, I'm thinking more. Let's be more positive. In need of repair, let's say.
Yes.
But that's exactly how it is. Someone's gone through a bereavement, they're divorced, or it could be their upbringing was less than ideal, like they were orphans, or it could be any number of things. They could be financially in a bad way, but either way, they're mentally going through a rough patch, and suddenly this is something like a religion could be, suddenly it becomes a beacon of light to people that are looking for it. So I understand how it operates, but I guess my real question is, are you now in your life naturally more skeptical of things?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And are you more, as a result, are you more guarded?
Yes. Like I am very much like I'm watching. And I can usually spot that shit a mile away.
Yes.
Like I can just spot it. It has a certain look and feel to it, the way the people act.
Yeah.
And I can, and I'll usually be able to like, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. And I don't even mean like crazy, crazy ass cults where you live on a commune. There can be like small culty, groups and stuff like that that you can find yourself into. But yeah, I'm pretty good now.
So would it be a situation, let's say, for example, that someone starts talking about what you know is a cult, what you're going to figure out as a cult? It'll take you within like a couple sentences before you realize, okay, that this person's now trying to
because they all have a certain cadence about them. They all have this, it's almost like a preacher mixed with a salesman, but not as over the top.
Yes.
They're usually very polished and, like I said, charismatic for the most part. Yeah. They're kind of cool. They have a little bit of a coolness factor. I found myself in a weird fucking cult, like maybe 7 years ago, but I didn't know. And I had gotten into it because I'm into astrology. So I joined this dude's little group because I wanted to learn astrology. Sure enough, he was charismatic, had a way with words. Yeah. I just thought it was astrology. I wasn't. Next thing you know, this fucker starts talking about end of times, multi-dimensional alien beings, and like all this shit. And I was like, okay. All right, here we go with this shit. And sure enough, like all the people in the group, you couldn't say anything. You couldn't challenge anything they say. I mean, it was textbook. It really was. And I say that to say, it's not just, the Nike wearing Heaven's Gate stuff. It can be, have the appearance of something very innocent and normal. It can be
more subtle.
Yes. And then you get in it and you're like, oh shit, this man wants me to start like prepping for the end of the world. What the fuck?
Oh yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah. If you look up, there's a couple of documentaries on Netflix. I think it's Netflix. One of them, it's a South Korean cult called Baby Garden, guys. Look it up. It's one of the creepiest. I don't remember the exact. If you look it up, just type in that expression, baby garden, because the translation was that in English, and it was a sex cult. And I saw it, and the way things were explained, and I was laughing through most of it because it did strike me as some kind of outer space, like sci-fi tale of fuckery. And there's a couple more along those lines, and there's loads of South Korean cults. Shincheonji was one of them that started the pandemic. That it was one of the problems in the early segment of the early days of the pandemic. But there were, they seem to be like the Moonies. Everybody knows about the Moonies. That's another South Korean cult. There's loads of them that exist. And you think that, well, in 2025, this couldn't possibly happen. They know too much about it. There's people putting exposés. There's documentaries. No, people still join cults. That's not probably going to end anytime soon.
Yep. There's one on Netflix. I wish I could think of the name of it. Shit. Oh, I wish I could think of the name of it. Yeah, there's a really good documentary on Netflix called Escaping Twin Flames. It's about this cult, and it's recent. It's like from within the last 5 years. And it is so fucking crazy what they did to these people. Like, I'm not going to give anything away because it's so shocking, some of the stuff. Like, not, torture like that, but crazy stuff. Like, I get one thing could be considered torture. Honestly, like mental torture to make these people do certain things. Crazy. So crazy. And there's another one on HBO called Mother God, which is crazy as hell too. So those are two I recommend. And they're recent. That's why it's so bizarre.
Are they standalone or are they multi-episode?
I think the Mother God one, I think it's like 3. HBO usually does a 3 or a 4-parter. They're like an hour each or 45 minutes each. And Netflix is the same. I think Escaping Twin Flames is also maybe 3 or 4 episodes.
And each episode is like an hour? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's totally digestible because that seems to be what...
Oh, yeah.
I've often thought from time to time of like not joining a cult, but kind of acting like I was going to join one just to fuck with them, the way I fuck with telemarketers, to see if I could just go in there and mess with their heads. And so when I told a friend, he was like, "Well, wouldn't you be afraid they'd twist your mind or something?" No, I said no, because I started from a young age distrusting organized religion, which was it's got its own dogma, just like cults, and naturally being distrustful because of my dad's influence. Like my mother she was neutral either way, but dad was vehemently like, we were in church. He was 5 minutes in church before he went to go get coffee in the hall. So,
good.
So,
I'm glad for that. Look, there's some positives about it, but now I'm with you on that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like I said, it's not an indictment for those of you out there who are religious. Obviously, it's just a matter of like being naturally skeptical of everything first. And I think it's a healthier way to be, as long as you understand that like knowledge is useful. Knowledge is something that's beneficial, and you shouldn't be afraid of learning new things, even if it is cult stuff. Like if you wanted to learn about a cult doctrine, I don't think that doesn't make you a cult member to go read up and research Scientology. You're just curious, you want to find out about it. But I think it's necessary to keep yourself on an even keel all throughout. Now, Robin here says it's part of the audio there. Let's see. I think she says she feels like she could join these people. So here we go.
Time I felt I'd found a group of people I might consider joining. I craved the same sense of belonging that Catherine Starfire had described. The next playground seminar was that very weekend, and I signed up that night to take it.
Now, before she goes into all that, she says a couple of things here. Even though I'd had friends and even a few lovers, so it kind of sounds like Bowie. I gained a couple lovers. You gained one. I had many lovers. You had one lover. I'd always remained separate and apart. And on the page 117, she says, I was tired of being afraid, and I was tired of running away, and I was tired of being alone. And that essentially is part of what draws people to cults, the feeling of belonging, isn't it?
100%. 100%. You're a part of a group. You're a part of something. They make you feel good. I mean, I get it. I get it. But,
Right. This one is called One Hell of a Strong Cunt.
Come Friday evening, I was back in that same room with about 100 other people. Soon a man and a woman called trainers entered. Randy, the male trainer, explained that we'd spend the next couple of days doing processes, some of them written, others involving an activity, and still others consisting of guided meditation. Playground was a return to childhood, meant to be fun. In the first process, each of us got to watch ourselves on a monitor as a camera made a complete circle around us. The purpose, Randy explained, was to give us an idea of how we appeared to others.
Now continues the next bit. In the next 2 days, I would confront my fear of being on stage, discover that I too held prejudices against other people, and realize that in every human being there's a wonderful person just trying to get out. Sometimes there isn't, sorry to say.
No, there's not.
No.
100 total strangers had walked into that workshop on Friday night, but by Sunday evening we were best friends, sorry to be parting.
Okay. Wee. All of a sudden, like, the klaxon is going off here. Someone says you found 99 best friends in one weekend. That the only duty you have is to run far away from that person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and those 99 people.
That's
you
right.
run away from all of them.
99 strangers had supported and loved me while I confronted my own fears, and I had gotten to do the same for them. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Playground was just one of the many workshops and seminars conducted by this organization known as Summit, and I wanted to be around this wonderful energy all the time. I offered my services as a volunteer and signed up for the next available workshop, the Woman's Workshop, assuming that it would be as warm and embracing as Playground. Was I in for a surprise?
The big smile I was wearing when I entered the workshop room soon faded, for the Woman's Workshop was no laughing matter.
Beth, the trainer for this workshop, led us through grueling, confrontational processes designed to unearth the secret traumas of growing up female. I hung back and barely participated, as others told tale after tale of abuse at the hands of fathers, brothers, friends, and strangers. How I managed to get through the entire...
Oh, sorry. Before we go into that part, there's that one. Can you read that first paragraph, the big one, the first one, on page 118?
One particularly poignant sharing came from a middle-aged woman who had introduced herself at the beginning of the workshop as the happily married mother of 2 grown boys. She had probably never before confided this story to another living soul. Standing in the middle of a circle of women, she told us that when she was 8, her adored older brother had allowed his friends to see and touch her naked body. He did it so that they would like him, and she did it to win her brother's love. Listening to her struggle through tears to reveal her long-hidden shame, I thought my heart would burst. Still, I refused to join in this collective bloodletting and kept my mouth shut, desperate to maintain the illusion that my childhood had been fine.
Okay, now this is key, and this is something that Benjamin had a lot of things to say about when we covered it the first time. I'm going to let the audio play out a little bit, and then we're going to stop it real quick.
Weekend I'll never know. But by Monday, I realized that I was losing my voice and assumed that I was coming down with a cold. No other symptoms ever appeared, but for the next several weeks, I couldn't speak above a whisper. I was reduced to writing notes to communicate. I did manage to croak out my problem to one of my fellow Playground alumni, Danielle.
Okay, now this rears itself again when when Howard bolts for WNBC, when they're at Washington and he gets the job with WNBC and leaves Fred and Robin there behind. And they offer the station, she doesn't know what to do. She goes to Howard's lawyers and they say, well, ask for $100,000 a year. And they go, well, okay, well, how about 75 for the first 3 years and $100,000 for the last 2 years? Something like it worked out to about $450,000 for a 5-year contract, which is damn good money for back then, especially for somebody like her. And she claimed that she lost her voice and couldn't accept, like she wouldn't make a deal. So they ended up giving that money to the grease man. And she lost the contract was no longer on the table because she claimed I lost my voice. It's true that stress can cause people to do some, like have all kinds of ailments. Losing your voice is not one I've ever heard of. I don't buy it for a fucking minute. I believe she didn't want to speak, but that's not the same as saying I couldn't speak.
No, I'll say this though. Side note: Shania Twain. You know her, right?
Oh,
the
yeah.
singer.
Shania.
When her gross husband had the affair with her best friend or whatever.
Yeah.
She lost her voice for a long time and she couldn't sing. Now, she could speak, but she couldn't sing. So I don't know if that was what is it called?
Psychosomatic.
Yeah. So there's that. I'm not taking up for Robin though, but there
Yeah.
is that I've heard of. Now, Robin, what does her losing her voice have to do with losing the contract? Like her voice was coming back. It's maybe she got laryngitis.
But laryngitis doesn't last for 4 and 5 weeks while someone's offering you a contract. Like I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks she put it off, and then they finally said, we can't wait any longer. We need someone in. Yeah. So it's not a question of a 36-hour period where she couldn't speak. And even if she couldn't speak, she could have accepted a fucking contract.
So, yeah. So I don't believe that either. I think that's bullshit because you can still communicate. You can still write on a notepad. You know what I mean? Like you can still get in contact with people. It's not, she was playing some game.
Yes.
Right?
Like you have to, like if I don't talk, you're going to have to come to me to
Yes.
give me attention, to treat me like I'm a retard essentially and give me special care because that's what I
Yep.
need. And she can't just verbalize and say, baby me. You know,
That's
princess
exactly
me.
what she was. Yep. She was wanting them to chase after her and they called her bluff and they didn't.
Yes.
So
I believe
then
that's
she,
I believe that's exactly it. And Benjamin's assertion was originally when we covered this that her trauma was not unearthed at Playground. It was created in Playground. When she listened to all these things and she didn't want to, you know, she wasn't able to speak. It wasn't she wasn't able to speak. She hadn't yet created the narrative of her being a victim. And she heard all this stuff. And then of course, her abuse, while if true, still bad, isn't even close to being as bad as what you've heard from other people in the you know, the people that have divulged of their own secrets and what have you at this thing. So again, she has to be a lesser victim than other people. She can't be a greater victim. In this context, every other context, she's always a victim. But in this one, I couldn't make it so that I was, you know, gangbanged by, you know, my brother's friends or something like that. It couldn't be that severe. It had to be something much less and ended as soon as I decided I bit my father's shoulder, and that's when it ended.
that is such a good insight. It really is. Because she sat and she watched all these women. She saw how they got attention. She saw how they, you know, felt powerful or whatever with all the support and sharing this, you know, awful story to these group of people. So that's why she was quiet. Yes, like you said, because she didn't have the story yet.
That's
That's
right.
why she sat quiet.
Yep.
So then it all makes so much sense. And so she couldn't, if she came up with anything super awful, one, it could be traced back and, you know, found out if it really happened. But also, I think she had to keep it where it wasn't something that would make her look too bad. Do you know what I'm
uber
trying to
victim-y.
say? Yeah. So it had to be a light trauma, like trauma light.
Light trauma that you are triumphant over, not that defines you as a victim the rest of your life.
Right.
Right.
Exactly that.
Even though
That right there.
She needs the victimhood and she needs the triumphant
Yes.
aspect of it, which is what, as we said earlier in episodes that we've covered, is not the hallmark of survivors. It's not like
No, it's not.
a survivor by definition endures what goes through, but they don't beat it. You know, like it's not. It's I mean, not to say I'm not wording this
You
correctly.
learn to
Cope
go
with
through
it.
a traumatic experience.
That's right.
But you learn how to process it, how to deal with it, and
That's
then
right.
you move on with your life as best as you can.
That's
Like,
right.
That's, you know,
You essentially, yeah, you deal with it. You find a way to not rationalize it, but put it in a corner of your mind and like, okay, well, this is going to inform other things I do going forward, but it's not going to define me. It's not going to, you know, make me, you know, whatever. But she's using this like this minimal amount of abuse to come off like, you know, I just endured the horrors of war. Like I was a POW and they abused me for 5 years and I served them and, I had to clean the floor with a toothbrush. And that's like, like really the worst possible stuff. But she has to be victorious. It can't be a survivor's tale. It has to be a victor's tale. And that's a hallmark of NPD, certainly. Middle of page 118, guys. It said, Danielle, the aforementioned Danielle, who suggested that I consult with someone else at the center. When I wrote my problem for a staff member, she suggested another workshop. The next one available was as a parents' workshop at the Summit Center in San Jose. As anxious as I was to get my voice back, I was sure the parents' workshop wasn't for me because I didn't have kids. Do you have parents? The staffer asked. I was on my way to San Jose. The parents' workshop was just as difficult to sit through as the women's workshop. I had never known such anger, and I wasn't even doing the exercises. Merely hearing others share their stories churned up all my rage. After another excruciating weekend, I was livid and still couldn't talk. Again, don't buy it. Do not buy it. Since I was planning to attend a follow-up meeting on the Wednesday evening after the workshop, I spent Tuesday night at my friend Danielle's. Okay, my friend. And here's where the audio continues a little bit.
To my surprise, she came right out and asked me what it was that I didn't want to say.
What I did in response astonished me.
For the first time since my father had molested me, I confessed to another person what had happened. You'd better talk to Beth about this, Danielle urged. I sat through the Wednesday meeting without hearing a word that was said. After everyone filed out, I approached Beth, who was still standing on stage.
Now, you read the next part that finishes off the paragraph?
As I walked toward her, it became clear to me that I had been holding on to my secret for so long that I didn't want to let it go. I had convinced myself that if I told, people wouldn't like me. That's why I'd been so terrified to speak. Somehow I knew that it was time for me to stop guessing about what happens when you tell and really find out.
Okay.
Tears were spilling down my cheeks and my lips trembled as I struggled to make myself heard. But the more of my story I shared with Beth, the louder my voice became. By the time I got to the end, an hour had passed. Beth was holding me in her arms, and I had my voice back.
You're one hell of a strong bitch, Beth blurted out with what can only be described as moxie. You sat through that whole women's workshop without saying a word. You're lucky your voice was the only thing you lost.
What? I was amazed at how much better I felt, and it wasn't just getting my voice back. It was finally having someone listen to me and tell me it was okay. For a brief moment, that scared, battered little girl inside me had shown her face, and she didn't get slapped. It was a beginning.
Okay, so is there anything in that would lead you to believe that she legitimately lost her voice out of stress? I don't believe so.
No. And I don't know was she doing, it's like she acts so childish.
Mm-hmm.
Like she was pitching a fit about being late because she had to work at the Air Force longer, and she did all that bullshit because she didn't want to work there. So she was pitching a fit like a little baby.
Right.
So now it's almost like she's being quiet because she wants everybody to ask her what's wrong.
Yes.
And that's how she gets attention, is like
if she acts like a little victim around people, like a little like, I got something to say, but I don't want to say it. You can do one of two things, be the silent kid or be a boisterous kid. Later on, she becomes this, like she can't shut her fucking mouth. But early on, it's like, okay, I want you to, treat me like the baby that I am. Like, do you want a cracker? You want some sandwiches? You want a cookie? That kind of behavior.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what she was doing here.
Yeah.
And that's what she was doing later on with the contract you just talked about. It was the same thing.
Yes. And is it fear-based? Is it, I don't know what it, like, you guys will have to do some of the homework on your own because we're not going to be able to finish more today. But that being said, I think we covered a good chunk of it, and we'll continue the rest of it another time. I'm trying to think, have you got a request for this one that you've been holding on to that you might be based on the episode or that you've been thinking about, or just a song that you'd like to hear?
So the song, I found it. It's called California by Phantom Planet, and it's like a little road trip anthem or whatever. It's a good one. I just thought about it. I haven't thought about that song in years, but for some reason her talking about California made me remember it.
The only thing I was thinking of was Crazy Town, the band. But I was thinking, because that's not a song, that's a band name.
Oh,
The one that did
you
that
know what?
Butterfly.
Oh, you know what? What's that song Crazy Bitch by Buck Cherry?
Well, it's up to you. It's up to you. I give you like the vetoing rights to your own
Oh,
stuff.
God.
Whatever you think is perfect for the episode, I'll go with.
You know what? I'm gonna go with Crazy Bitch. For some reason, that one just makes me. Now, the words don't really match her, but I
Okay.
like that. I
Fair.
like that title. Let's do that one.
Title is all we need sometimes. Thank you so much for this one, my dear, and thank you guys for tuning in. We hope you have not decided to join a cult as a result of listening to this episode, and we'll catch you on the next one. Take care, guys.
Bye.
People are coming to the house. My wife is upstairs crying. I think you should tell your godfather what everybody else seems to know. I want all inquiries made. I want no acts of vengeance. I want you to call all the heads of